What happens when one of rock's most demanding bands decides to return to the stage without the drummer who helped define its sound for decades? For Rush, that question wasn't theoretical. It became the central challenge of preparing the 50-something tour. When Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson announced their return, they made one thing clear. Anika Nilles was not simply being asked to copy Neil Peart. She was joining a new version of Rush while honoring a musician whose playing was essentially impossible to duplicate. Rush's own announcement described Nilles as someone adding another chapter to their story. Rush.com, and that changed the rehearsal room completely. The preparation began with an experimental rehearsal in March 2025, before Lee and Lifeson had even decided whether they would actually tour. They wanted to discover whether continuing without Neil was musically and emotionally possible. According to the band, the early rehearsals were intense, and the possibility of abandoning the entire idea was still on the table. Then came another complication: the amount of music they wanted to perform. Rush eventually prepared roughly 40 songs, so they could keep changing the set lists from night to night. That meant Nils couldn't simply learn a fixed collection of songs and stop there. She had to be ready for a constantly shifting show, while Lee and Lifeson were also rebuilding their own performance stamina after years away from the stage. Rush.com. But there was an even bigger problem hiding underneath all of this. How do you rehearse Rush music when the person who originally played those drum parts is no longer there? And that question forced Niels to make a decision that would shape the entire tour. The answer was not simply to learn Neil Peart's parts note for note. Anika Nilles had an enormous responsibility: respect what Peart created while still bringing her own musical identity to the stage. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson knew that asking another drummer to become a carbon copy of Neil would miss the point. Nilles had to understand the architecture of the songs, the accents, dynamics, transitions, and tiny details that made Rush sound like Rush. That meant rehearsals could not be treated like ordinary run-throughs. Every song had to be examined from the ground up. Niels needed to know where the original arrangements demanded precision, where she could add her own interpretation, and how her playing would interact with Lee's bass and vocals and Lifeson's guitar. And this was especially important because Rush's music leaves very little room for mistakes. Peart's parts often function almost like another lead instrument. The drums don't merely keep time, they answer the guitar, reinforce the bass, and help drive the entire arrangement. So when Nilles changed even a small detail, it could affect the feel of the whole band. That is why the rehearsals became more than preparation. They became a process of rebuilding the musical chemistry of Rush. But there was another challenge waiting. Lee and Lifeson weren't just rehearsing with a new drummer. They were learning how to perform Rush again after years away from the stage. And suddenly, Nilles wasn't only responsible for playing the songs. She was helping create the foundation that allowed the entire band to come alive again. But what happened when Nils finally started pushing beyond simply reproducing Peart's parts? That was the moment the rehearsal strategy became much more interesting. Anika Nilles had already spent years developing her own voice as a drummer, and Rush brought her into the project because of that musicianship, not because she was expected to erase her identity. In interviews, Nilles has explained that playing Peart's material required enormous preparation, but she also approached the music from her own perspective. For Rush, that created a delicate balance. The songs had to remain recognizable to millions of longtime fans, but the performances could not simply be museum pieces. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson were returning as older musicians with different experiences, different physical demands, and a different relationship with the material than they had decades earlier. Nils, therefore, had to become part of that new chemistry. Instead of thinking only about what Peart originally played, rehearsals could focus on what the songs needed now. That meant listening closely to Lee and Lifeson, adjusting dynamics, locking into their timing, and understanding how the three musicians could function as a unit. And that approach mattered, because Rush's catalog is incredibly varied. One moment demands precision and restraint. The next requires explosive playing and complicated rhythmic changes. A drummer preparing for this tour could not rely on one formula. That helps explain why the preparation was reportedly extensive. The band had to build enough flexibility to handle a large pool of songs while keeping every performance tight, and there was one final ingredient Rush could not rehearse from a chart: trust. Lee and Lifeson had to trust Nilles with some of the most recognizable drum parts in rock history. Nilles had to trust them enough to stop worrying about being compared with Peart and start performing as a member of the band. Once that trust began to develop, the rehearsal room changed. But the biggest test was still ahead, because rehearsing Rush songs in private was one thing. Taking that new chemistry onto a real stage was something else entirely. Then came the moment when all those rehearsals had to prove themselves. The 50-something tour was never going to be judged only by musicians. Rush was walking into rooms filled with fans who had spent decades listening to Neil Peart's playing. Every drum fill, every transition, and every familiar rhythm could trigger a comparison. Nilles understood that pressure. But instead of trying to convince fans that she was Neil Peart, the goal was to make the music feel alive again. That distinction became crucial. The rehearsal strategy had prepared her for more than simply surviving the difficult parts. She had to play with confidence, respond to Lee and Lifeson in real time, and maintain the energy of a live Rush performance. For Lee and Lifeson, that chemistry was equally important. They weren't bringing back Rush as a nostalgia act built around recreating the past exactly. They were creating a new live chapter using songs that had defined their careers. That also explains why the set list could evolve. With a large group of songs prepared, Rush had room to change the show instead of delivering the exact same performance every night. And that flexibility was possible because the band had built its preparation around musicianship rather than a rigid formula. Nilles had done the difficult work of learning the vocabulary of Rush. Now she had to speak it on stage in her own voice. And perhaps the most important part was what she didn't try to do. She didn't need to replace Neil Peart as a person, because nobody could. She needed to help Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson perform Rush again. That was the real purpose of rebuilding the rehearsal strategy. But there was still one question hanging over the entire comeback. Would longtime Rush fans accept a version of the band that sounded familiar, but wasn't exactly the same? In the end, that was the real challenge Rush had to solve. The goal was never to pretend Neil Peart had been replaced. Peart's role in Rush was unique, and his influence on the band's music cannot simply be duplicated. Instead, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson had to find a way to perform these songs again while accepting that Rush had changed forever. Anika Nilles gave them that opportunity. Her preparation required more than memorizing some of the most complicated drum parts in rock. She had to understand the musical language Peart created, earn the trust of two musicians who had spent decades playing beside him, and then bring enough of herself to make the performances feel genuine. That is why the rehearsal strategy had to change. Rush wasn't rebuilding the old band. They were building a new version of the live experience, and that distinction may be the most important part of the entire story. Nilles didn't have to become Neil Peart. She had to become Anika Nilles inside Rush, while giving fans enough of the familiar sound to recognize the songs they loved. For Lee and Lifeson, that meant learning how to move forward without abandoning their past. For Nilles, it meant carrying some of the most demanding drum music ever written into a completely new era. And for the fans, it meant watching a band they thought they had already said goodbye to attempt something nobody knew was possible. Rush returned because Lee, Lifeson, and Nilles found a way to make the music work again. Not by recreating yesterday, but by rehearsing for tomorrow. And that may ultimately be the biggest reason the 50-something tour was possible at all.